to Baking on a Budget. Today we're going to be making some blueberry and banana muffins, and the ingredients we're going to need are 2 cups of self-raising flour, a pinch of salt, half a cup of bran, 2 small bananas, 1 cup of blueberries, either frozen or fresh, it doesn't matter, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of milk, whatever milk you choose, 1 egg, 3 tablespoons of melted butter or oil, the choice is yours, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence or extract. And of course we'll need an oiled muffin tray. Now if you don't have self-raising flour, that's not a biggie. I mean, this is baking on a budget. If you've just got normal flour, go ahead and use normal flour, just 2 cups of normal flour, but you'll need to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder to your recipe as well as the soda. Okay, so that's all good. So let's carry on with our recipe. We need to turn our oven on to 190 degrees Celsius to preheat. Just off the top of my head, I can't remember what that is in Fahrenheit, but I will definitely put it in the description for you or in the comments below when I have worked out what that is. And we'll move on to mixing our recipe. In a large bowl, and I suggest a 2 litre or bigger, add your peeled bananas. Now you only need small bananas, and when we mash them, we need to mash them reasonably well. We don't want big chunks of banana through our batter, because the banana's job is to add moisture to our recipe and just a little flavour. Now as you can see, these are salad bananas. They're nice and ripe, and when you peel them, they're perfectly fine inside. But quite often you can pick these up for quite cheap at the supermarket, because the greengrocer just wants to get rid of them. So it's our bonus, his loss. Now I just use a fork and I mash these up. It doesn't take long, but I'll just get the lumps out of there. Okay, no big lumps, doesn't take long to mash. But this will go brown if you leave it to sit for any length of time, so don't mash it up ahead of time. Mash it just before you're going to actually mix up the recipe. It doesn't change the flavour at all, but it just changes the look. So here's our cup of blueberries. Now I'm using frozen blueberries, and these were just the local supermarket's home brand. I buy them in packs of 500 grams, and I find I can get 6 batches of blueberry muffins out of 1 single bag of their blueberries. So you mix those round a bit. Now the bananas will take on a bit of the purple colour of the blueberries, especially if you've used frozen, but that doesn't matter, because let's face it, these are going to be mainly blueberry muffins. Okay, so we have our banana and our blueberry mixed up, and now we add our flour, and I just found it easier to put the 2 cups into one bowl. So that's 2 cups of self-raising flour, a half a cup of bran, a half a cup of sugar. What else do I need in here? I think that's about it. Sorry, I have to check my recipe. I should know this by now. I make it often enough. And you just mix it through. The cinnamon, I knew I'd forgotten something, chiefly because it's tucked away and I didn't see it. Half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I knew I was missing something. There we go. and we just roughly just mix that through so that the herbs and the spices and the fruit are just mixed through the dry ingredients. It's just a fairly rough mix. We want each of the blueberries to be coated with the flour because that is what helps it to stop the fruit sinking to the bottom of your muffins. Have you ever made blueberry muffins and all your fruit have sunk to the bottom of your pan? That's the problem. So hopefully we've mixed all this up and we've got all of the blueberries coated with the flour and the bran mix, and there should be some fruit in the top of our muffins when we come to pull them out of the oven. Right, so your recipe should look something like that. I'm going to put that aside just for a minute and now move on to our other recipe. I will just get the milk. Right, this is a breakfast cup. It isn't a metric cup, but you don't have to be exact in this recipe. It's a very forgiving recipe. What we need is half a cup of milk, you can use measuring cups if you want to. I usually do for my flour and my sugar and everything else, but for milk I normally just eyeball it. Okay, so we've got our milk. I'm going to put the baking soda in already. We need 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda in here, and I find that if you put it in with the milk it just mixes it a little bit quicker and easier. So there's 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. Just stirring that to mix it in. And break in our egg. Break up the yolk. If you have a little whisk, now would be a good time to use one, but I don't have a small one, so I find a teaspoon does well, or a fork. And what you want to do is just mix the egg and the milk together. And now that they're mixed together, I add the vanilla so that it's spread evenly through the batter. I mix it to the milk, and I want a teaspoon of this, and this is the natural variety. If you've got extract, that adds a really good flavour, but if you've just got imitation vanilla, it's alright too. Use what you've got. We mix all that up. And I've realised I've got to put my pinch of salt in. There is a pinch of salt. My good old grandmother never used to cook without it. My hands are washed. The pink on them is from where the cherries I was picking this morning, some of them bruised, and I'm sorry, I have scrubbed my hands, but I couldn't get it off. Right. And all we do now is we come back to our blueberry mixture and we tip that in. And we tip in our 3 tablespoons of melted butter or oil. In this instance I'm using oil, and I'm just using a very lightly flavoured oil so that it doesn't flavour our bacon. And now you carefully mix this in. We don't want to over mix the mixture, but we do want it to be mixed until it's just combined. Sometimes these mixtures can look like they are actually combined, and then when you go to give it one last stir, you find flour down the bottom of the bowl still. As you can see, it's quite a wet recipe. That's because of the banana in it. And at this stage the batter has taken on a purpley appearance, and that's because of the blueberries through it. But that doesn't matter at all. Just going to scratch the mixture off my fork. You may as well have all of that mixture in our muffin pans rather than sticking to a fork and going down the drain in the sink. Right, and to get our trays. Now I have pre-oiled my muffin trays. You can use a spray just to give them a quick cooking spray so that they don't stick, or if you don't have cooking spray, just a tablespoon of oil and use a serviette or a paper napkin and just give them a quick wipe over so that nothing sticks. I use a ice cream scoop that has this lever on it so that all of my muffins come out on a fairly uniform size. It's just portion control really. If you don't have one of these, a spoon and a spatula does just as well. Use what you've got, it's your baking. We don't need all these fancy gadgets to make yummy food. And we'll just put them in. As you can see, there's quite a few blueberries at the top. So when we pull them out, I'm expecting those blueberries still to be at the top of these muffins once they're baked. If you find your mixture is too wet, whether you've used bigger bananas, you can add a little more flour just to thicken your recipe up a little, or even a little more bran. The choice is yours. If you wanted to, you could take a further half a cup of self-raising flour out and swap it with another half a cup of bran and make these even a healthier version. But I find that just half a cup of bran is good for me, and I like this recipe just the way it comes out. If you happen to spill any on your trays, please pick it up and just give that a wipe, because otherwise that will burn onto your tray and it will stick and make it very hard to actually get off after you've cooked. Right, I'm going to pop these in the oven now, and they need to be baked for 18 to 20 minutes at 190 degrees Celsius. The top of them should be slightly browned, but you can also use a skewer to see if they're totally cooked, if you're worried that they're not totally cooked when they come out. So I'm going to pause this video now, and I'm going to put these in the oven, and we'll be back when they're baked. See you soon. Now, as you can see, the muffins have come out. They're slightly browned on the top. The fruit has definitely stayed at the top of the muffins. So we're just going to run a knife around these now and loosen them a little, and hopefully they will come out very easily. These have been sitting on the stove for about 2 minutes after I took them out of the oven. Now, if you don't want yours as brown as I like mine on the top here, you can take them out a few minutes ahead of time But what I find is because they've got banana in them, they are quite moist, and if they're not reasonably baked, when you go to take them out, they can actually break apart, and that is no fun. It's a shame that we don't have smell video, because these just smell fabulous. Right, I'll move those over here, and now let's see if they come out. Here we go. Look at that. These would be a nice healthy snack to pop in your children's lunch boxes, or to take to work with you, or just for afternoon tea if you're at home. As I said, if you want to make them even healthier, cut down the self-raising flour and add a bit more bran instead. Substitute the bran for the flour and they will be even healthier. You could make these with strawberries, raspberries, just about any type of fruit really. And I'm sure they would come out just as good. If you are making ones using fruit like peaches, I would suggest that you cut the fruit very small. But with these ones using the frozen blueberries, they've just come out perfect. They're looking just fabulous. So I normally take them out, and if I can control myself, I'll let them cool for 10 minutes or so. But if you like nice warm muffins, now is a good time to sample your goodies. Let's put that out of the way for a minute. Okay. I'll get a plate. Which one looks like me? The small one. And just put a little bit of icing sugar over the top of that. Right. And how good does that look? Put that together with a cup of tea. That with a cup of tea, and there's your afternoon tea sorted. Now I know that you're all dying to see what it's like on the inside, so I'll break this one open. It's still very hot. There it is. Moist. Beautiful. Cooked all the way through. Soft. Delicious. Mmm. Tastes good too. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. We will catch you on the next video. Excuse me while I just wrap those over so they can cool off, and I'm going to go and enjoy my muffin. See you later. Thank you for dropping by.